everybody. It's Pat Jones, and we're doing another Turf Zoom brought to you by Aquatrols. Today, we're going international. Well, kind of. It's still here in my home state of Ohio, but it's the most global program in turfgrass education. And I'm talking about the Ohio program. And I'm very happy to have our friend Michael Keefe here to tell us about it and tell us why it's so important globally. Mike, welcome to Turf Zoom.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How did you get into this crazy business? So it seems like you've always been a part of our industry as long as some of us can remember. I remember back beyond that because I'm old. But how did you get into this crazy industry, and how did you end up at Ohio State?
Well, it's a great story for young people. Actually, I grew up on a dairy farm in Southern Ireland, and I came over on this very program as an intern. My background was in horticulture, veg production, and I came in here to Ohio State, and I got an internship, but I took the opportunity to come to class at Ohio State. And inside with the program manager at the time, I kept saying, do you do anything in the turf business? Because I grew up around Ballybunion and Lahinch and all those great courses. And he was like, no, I'm an animal science guy. I don't know much about it. And I said, but it's a great profession. And he goes, and I still remember him putting the phone across the table. He said, well, there you go. If you want to help me, there's the phone, you can help me. So I volunteered at first to help him with my passion. And then finally in 1990, I came in full time to work in the university, and I've been here ever since.
Wow, 31 years. That's astounding. So tell me about the top program today and what it does, and why superintendents everywhere around the planet need to understand it.
Well, we work with golf courses around the world, and being Ohio State, we have an obligation, Pat, to link people together in this great profession. Because let's face it, golf is global, turf is global. I mean, it's the same the world over. So we're basically a nexus for all those good people out there in New Zealand, Australia, whatever. And we try to bring young people here to the States to experience this industry and this profession, because look, we have the best superintendents in the world here. And we bring kids here, and it's really easy. When you place those kids with good superintendents, they grow. And that's basically the nexus, the bottom line for what we do. We want to do that. And likewise, we do the same with the young people here. We send them overseas into Australia, Royal Melbourne, over to St. Andrews, Queenwood, the Wisley. We send OSU students out, so it's a real benefit to Ohio State, because we can send them around the world with the doors we've opened already. We have the best advantage, the best program for Ohio State students to go anywhere in the world. All you got to do is come in and talk to me. And I remember Peter Braun come in. I sent him over to Ireland, and he came back and he said, I loved it, Mike. Can you send me somewhere else? And I said, be careful, Peter, because I might do something. I said, are you willing to go to New Zealand next week? And he goes, sure. I said, you might want to call your family first. So we can send you anywhere, and not just Ohio State students. We get kids from Nebraska, wherever. If they want help, we will do it. John Sorokin down at Tennessee often came to me talking about sending kids to the English Premier League and that side of the business. So
and this is sports turf, golf, and of course, sports turf is a lot of the new technology in our industry is being driven by the European sports turf industry. So having that kind of cross-pollination seems really, really cool. So when superintendents hear about this, they think, I want one of those interns. What kind of an experience are you hoping that these students get when they go to work for a course in the US, or vice versa? What are you hoping that comes out of that?
It's really the attention to detail. It's the technology. It's the pressure, the man management, the people management, how you manage people, how you motivate people in this difficult industry today, because budgets are tight and they have to produce, and golf is in high demand right now. So they're going to learn from the best. They're going to come out with a new sense of accomplishment when they come into these courses, to work around the best in the business. I think about Pat O'Brien down in Cincinnati, his background, his education, the intensity of his club. These guys are great motivators. They produce great people when they spend time around them. And let's face it, the Northeast is the most difficult place to grow grass in America. So you survive a summer in Ohio and in up to the transition zone, you're going to be good by default.
It's a marvelous program. So tell us about a few. There's been plenty, but a few more of the notable folks that have gone through the program and moved up from the university ranks into turfgrass profession.
Well, I think about Richie McGlenn, who's out of Torrey Pines.
Right?
Young man who was a student here at Ohio State, was very low key. I would use the word maybe shy. And we sent him over to England. And by default, he came out of his shell because he was out of his comfort zone over at the Grove in London, worked in a Troon course, came back. His confidence at Muirfield just blossomed. He's able to turn on and take over a US Open course and have that confidence. I'm so proud of what Richie did. You look at Alfie Hammond, a young man from Ireland who came here, worked with Jeff Corcoran, Oak Hill, Canterbury. He's now gone back and taken over Royal Dublin, which is a traditional links course. They're hiring a guy who's going to bring the modern day management to an old style links course. And today, that customer over there, they're demanding more, just like our superintendents were demanding more here for the last 20 years, that the members here were. So he's taking back everything he learned. I'm very proud of that. I could go on. Rachel Klein is down at Austin Football Club.
Yeah, talk about Rachel, because she's a sports field person.
Sports field here at Ohio State, changed her major over to turfgrass because she met Matt Williams, loves the industry. I sent her over to Everton Football Club, which is a very traditional English Premier high-end club. I got that opportunity because I had brought a young man from that club here for an internship at the Crew Stadium. So, Pat, our program is a true exchange. You know,
Right.
we open doors for OSU students. We could never have done this if we hadn't had that young man come over. And he was key to making this happen for her. She spent 6 months over there during COVID, and now she got a job. Well, Weston, he stole her from us here. She was at the Crew, and now she's down in Austin Football Club as his assistant head grounds person down there. So.
Just remarkable. So you've, and it's obviously been a crazy couple of years, but
Oh.
you were able to kind of take advantage though of the pandemic to educate yourself and to figure out new ways to reach out internationally. What are some of the things you're doing beyond just the internship program to spread the word internationally? That part one. And part two is, what are some of the trends you're seeing globally that I think we ought to understand better from your perspective?
Well, you know, normally I would go recruiting. We have a staff here. We recruit out of 21 countries. We bring in close to 500 kids a year from all over the world in agriculture and horticulture, turfgrass, wineries, floristry, you name it. Well, we couldn't do that anymore. We were grounded. So I had to use Zoom as a tool and talk about planning for next year. I would get onto a college in Melbourne, Australia, and they would be teaching Zoom to all their students out across the state of Victoria, 50, 60 kids. And I would tag into one of their classes, and then I would pull in previous students to talk to these kids, to mentor them and advise them. And I sat back one day and just marveled that this connection was like you and me talking right now to these kids around the world. Now, some nights I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning doing this, but they didn't even know that. I mean, I'm not afraid to tell you that 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm doing a Zoom into Auckland, New Zealand. And we actually took advantage of Zoom to get much more access to these young people because, in fairness, they were trapped. You know, and they were really trapped, and they were hungry for this feedback from the States, just to hear about the golf industry, to hear about what supers are doing, how they're handling this. They were a captive audience, Pat. I mean, you'd sit on there for an hour and they wanted to hang on every word. So we did that. The other thing is, I found mentally, it's good to talk to people. You know, it's good to get on Zoom and say, how are you doing? What's going on? Are you okay? And I was doing that with a guy in Dubai and saying, is there anything we can do for you? I always ask that. And he said, Mike, our superintendents can't go to GIS. They can't travel. They're stuck here. We're lacking education. We need to know what's out there technology-wise. I said, listen, you want us to set up a Zoom for you? I'll pull in the best. What do you want? It's like, well, we've got mole crickets, we've got ants, we've got all this stuff, and we need help. So I set up Dr. Shetler to do a series of talks. We got Dr.
Dave Shetler from OSU, right? The bug doc.
The bug doc, and we would get 40 or 50 people from like 8 or 10 different countries, from Qatar, Bahrain, Egypt, Cambodia, Saudi Arabia, all on this Zoom call. Now we'd be up at 6 o'clock in the morning doing it when they finish work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was wonderful. And they're so appreciative.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Exactly.
And because of this, we have found ways to talk to more people than maybe we could do it at trade show.
Yes.
Back in
Yes.
the day.
And they're so appreciative. And, this is what Ohio State should be doing. We have an obligation to do this kind of thing. And you ask any one of they're so appreciative of this. As a result of it, one of the supers in Saudi had a young lady working in his office that was curious about it, heard him talking, and he now put her on an online class of Dr. Danaber. She's the first female in Saudi Arabia to ever take a turf class and graduate. Can you believe how proud I am of that?
That's a really remarkable thing. I saw that being promoted the other day, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
And to play a little bit of role in that is great. What are some of the other trends though you're seeing? So obviously we're in the labor crisis of a generation here in the U.S. with not being able to attract qualified, motivated people for $11 an hour anymore, and having to change our whole economic package. And then there's this secondary thing of kids can't afford to go to college anymore. They can't afford a 4-year degree to go into an industry where they might make $40,000 a year for a while. And that, I know that that's a relative number, but the point is, it's not a particularly good investment. So those are our big driving factors. What else are you seeing around the globe?
The trend I'm seeing, Pat, is that they're having the same problem in Australia, in New Zealand, in the UK. They can't there's a vacuum there. They're just, young people are not coming into this profession. We're not doing as much to promote this profession. And it's worldwide, and it's a real problem for me because I need these young people coming into this industry.
Right.
And we have to do more. You can't depend on behemoths like Ohio State anymore to produce these kids for you as a superintendent. You can't rely on them. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just a fact. They're not out there for these universities anymore. So what do we do about that?
Right. And that's a legitimate question. And I think, it's interesting because our friends at Aquatrols are a truly global company. And one of the things I think that I've observed is, the companies like that have an opportunity to share the message and to share those things that do work to recruit young people to facilities. And so I would hope that we can have that kind of a global effort and get companies like that, they're already involved, but get them more involved.
Yeah. Well, companies like Aquatrols have their finger on the pulse. They're out there pressing the flesh with those superintendents every day. They're seeing what the trends are, much more so than Ohio State or other universities. We can't pivot as quickly as companies like Aquatrols can do that. And if they see a need, I think, like us, and what we look at as an obligation, I think companies like Aquatrols, it's great that you're doing these Zoom talks, talking about these issues, and it's a crisis, Pat. And companies like this, they're sponsoring this, know that this has to be put up on the table, and they have to encourage the superintendents to do more. You can't depend on a university to send you kids anymore. Companies got to go into high schools. They've got to go advertising. They've got to look at non-traditional. I mean, in the Netherlands, they're going to robotics. And they're putting more and more of these machines out there, mowing rough, mowing at night, because they've given up on labor. But I think there's a healthy contingent of young people out there that just haven't been accessed yet. They haven't been told what a great profession this is, how healthy this profession is. You're outdoors, make it more accessible, bring kids to the golf course. Brent Downs did the same thing a number of years ago. He went to the high school wrestling coach, and he finished up getting some fantastic young people, young women as well.
Brent's at Otter Creek in Indiana, right?
Yes, in Columbus, Indiana. And he did that. And Brett was a past trainee of ours. We sent him to Scotland. We sent him to Australia. And he's very much with the finger on the pulse as a superintendent. So guys like that need to be celebrated. And that model needs to be copied if we're going to get these young people.
And we spoke about this earlier. Anybody sitting around expecting golf to fix these problems is going to have a long wait. Individual facilities and individual superintendents and individual golf professionals and general managers are going to solve this problem, by taking ownership of it at the local level.
Yeah.
So today, tell me more about what students can do to contact you and to reach out to find out more about this program, and who are you looking for? What are you open to for as far as students?
Well, I mean, if you look at the flags on the wall behind me, down in Dubai, over at Royal Portrush. We deal with the top 10% in the world. So if you want to get to the top, we don't advertise, Pat. We're more word of mouth. You've got to fight to get to me. We do it on purpose. There's a psychology involved in this, and it's a strange psychology because I see other universities out there advertising all the time. And I don't do that. I don't need to do that. If you're really passionate, you're going to find me, and you're going to want to go overseas. And when I think about the Chris Zenas of the world, and I think about the Rachel Klein, she had to find me. Alfie Hammond had to find me. And you got to be passionate about this, because you're not going to make it in this business if you're not passionate. This is it's a wonderful profession, but you got to be in this for the long haul, and you want to see this work. And what I'd say to them is, talk to your advisor, talk to your professor, and say, I want to go and do an internship in Scotland. I want to go and do one in Ireland, and don't give up on it. Find some way. I think of John Sorokin down there, he's not afraid to reach out. We're all competitors, but we're all in this together, helping these young people. We're there to help. All you got to do is ask, and we're there to help you. But for the American student, they will get an edge in this industry. And when you look at Peter Braun up there, when you look at Richie McGlynn, I mean, who would ever imagine he'd be superintendent of a US Open course? Yeah. I mean, he started small. Small victories are very important. They don't need to do very much, because we've got the world as their oyster. We can send them anywhere. And I mean, look at the World Cup's going to be in Qatar now. One of my boys just signed up to go work over there. It's freakish what we can do for these people if they just reach out and ask.
I'm going to end it right there, because that's fabulous. And it's all about picking the most motivated, the young people who will take best advantage of this, and who will deliver and redeliver for our industry in years.
Yes.
Mike, I can't thank you enough for your time today. It's always a joy to talk to you. And I do encourage folks to reach out and learn more, because one of our industry's best programs. So again, thanks to our friends at Aquatrols for bringing you another episode of Turf Zoom, and stay tuned, because we'll be back again soon with another one.